Right, so episode 4 is out now, and it's probably the most lore-intensive episode we've seen. So I thought I'd take a look at everything we got in the episode and try to pull together a cohesive story for what's happening here. The secret underground laboratory, what happens when a drone overheats, and the return of a character that nobody noticed was there. So neglecting the more concerning parts of the episode for the moment, I want to have a look at this piece of paper, because it might be one of the most important clues in stringing everything together. On here we can see the symbol used on Eva and Nori's necklaces, as well as the title of this video, Marked for Disassembly. This is an order by JC Jensen to dispose of a selection of worker drones for some reason, most probably because they found something in their programming that allows for access to Absolute Solver. This page appears to have been torn up by the claws of a murder drone and has some crazed rambling on it that may be linked to something we see in the next few seconds. This page is also found next to some more crazy drawings like what we see Uzi and Nori have made, meaning that this is a common trait among those marked for disassembly. What we see next is also very interesting. The cockroach-looking robots that have been around since episode 2 show that there's more to them than we first thought. After scanning Uzi's face, the roach opens a chat that identifies her as 002, the same number as Nori. This automated text also leads to more questions. The first two are general admission type things, the third is an out-of-left-field remark, the fourth is a joke, and the fifth is what we're here to talk about. Call elevator implies the existence of an underground facility that needs a remote access entrance and is obviously very secretive. This secretive location is known as Cabin Fever Labs, according to the next message the bot shows us. Unfortunately, due to the magic of autocorrect, we don't get an answer as to what that lab actually is or where it is, but that's where I come in. Cabin Fever Labs is either the place that Doll is looking for, or where Doll is experimenting to find a cure for the Absolute Solver. Let me explain. So it's made apparent through these group photos that the drones marked for disassembly were at least aware of each other, and, out of a need to survive, would probably find a way to work with each other to cure themselves of the Absolute Solver. This explains the appearance of the cockroaches, since there would be no need for JC Jensen to build them, they must have been built by the workers themselves. It also explains why they're so attracted to the dead workers. It becomes a lot easier to find food if you have scouts already looking for you. As for the labs themselves, the secretive nature of it, and the fact that it requires a proximity scanner to enter, suggests that whoever was working down there didn't want anybody else knowing about it, and the only group who would need to do this is those marked for disassembly. Now on to the more gory part of the episode. This is the first time we actually get a look at what happens when a drone overheats, and while this is probably very different from what occurs in murder drones, we can still get some interesting insights as to what might happen to them. We also get introduced to our mysterious new but not really new character here. From what we can see, overheating causes issues in the Absolute Solver's programming, which makes sense as it would need to malfunction to allow the murder drones to die once all the workers have been killed. In Uzi's case, it causes her commands to misfire and creates errors which leads to the production of some sort of semi-organic material, similar to what we saw in episode 2 with Jay's core. This alone would be interesting, but we get the hint that there's something more devious going on here that we don't know about yet. But V knows about it. We get our first hint that V knows more about what's happening to Uzi than she's letting on through the archery scene. Uzi transforms the arrow shot at her into this weird, semi-alive goo, and then we zoom straight in on V with a look of shock, into recognition and terror, and then into determination as she draws swords. And while alone, this may have just been her defensive instincts kicking in, her fight with Uzi shows us that there is a deeper motivation here.
New body, same horrors, huh, Sin?
This is the new character we've never heard of before, because V isn't talking to Uzi here. She's talking to someone else. Sin. A person that, at least right now, has no physical form, and is instead inhabiting Uzi through the Absolute Solver. There really isn't a lot to go off of for their purpose here, but my best guess is they have something to do with this. My theory is that Sin is the fourth drone from the mansion on Earth, this one behind Tessa, and something happened to her that destroyed her physical form, but left her alive in the form of the Absolute Solver, or at least part of the Absolute Solver. At this point I was pretty much done with crafting my theory for this video. Two separate storylines, one about a group marked for disassembly, and another about the origins of the murder drones, but something just didn't sit right. And that something was this line.
V, we can't hurt Uzi!
Do our jobs, and that thing leaves us alone.
Don't know what you're talking about because you won't tell me!
This line comes out of nowhere. Considering there are half a dozen worker drones that V is walking away from, you wouldn't think she's very concerned with doing her job at the minute. Unless killing all the worker drones isn't her job. Think about it for a minute. There's really no need for JC Jensen to kill all of the workers. They aren't exactly going anywhere, and it's not likely that the company has any plans of returning to Copper 9. We know that they can keep tabs on them fairly easily because Tessa arrived in all of a few days, and she seemed perfectly capable of killing the workers herself. The real reason the disassembly drones are here isn't to kill workers. It's to kill workers marked for disassembly. It's to kill Uzi. That's why V isn't going to tell N what she knows, because she knows their job is to kill his friend. That's why she tries to get Uzi to stop being friends with N by telling her he doesn't care about her. She knows
What's best for you?
and that it's better for him
To stay distant, though. Don't you think?